Good afternoon, everybody. This is Kevin Rice, and we are going through a course in miracles. Hey, everybody. If you are using the foundation of inner peace, we are chapter 27, section 8, the hero of the dream, paragraph 10. In the Circle of Atonement version, it is chapter 27, section XI, which is 11, the secret of salvation. And we're going only through 4 paragraphs today. So I've already read this section to you all. And if you are watching this by replay, we invite you to read this section first, okay? It's a powerful, powerful section from A Course in Miracles. I happened upon it yesterday as I was reading Laughing Away the Tiny Mad Idea from the Circle of Atonement, section 10, prior to this. And it talked a little bit about the body is the central figure in the dreaming of the world. It talked about its safety is its main concern, its comfort is its guiding rule. The dreaming of the world takes many forms because the body seeks in many ways to prove in its autonomous and real. It hires other bodies that they may protect it and collect more senseless things that it can call its own. It's about possession, right? And goes on and on and on. So I really recommend that you look at the previous section as well, which is powerful and germane to what we are discussing briefly today. All right. So let's dive in together, right? The secret of salvation. You say, Kevin, I'm not experiencing happiness. I'm not experiencing joy. I'm not experiencing trust. I'm experiencing problems. I'm experiencing distrust. I am uncertain of the future. Well, I'm sorry, not to you, but to the entire universe who thinks the problem is in the world of form. It isn't. So let's start at the very beginning of this sentence here. The secret of salvation is but this, that you are doing this unto yourself. No matter what the form of the attack, this still is true. This is why I have repeatedly said that we are not discussing form, okay? Because the form is irrelevant. What is relevant is the content of the dream state that you're experiencing. Is the content of the dream that you're experiencing right now full of fear? Or is the content and the substance full of love? Okay? Let me repeat this again. The secret of salvation is but this, that you are doing this unto yourself, no matter what the form of the attack. This is true. It goes on by saying, whatever seems to be the cause of any pain and suffering you feel, this is still true. Let me repeat that too. Whatever seems to be the cause of any pain and suffering you feel, this is still true. So we just referred to previously about the world of form, the world of bodies, the figures within the dream state. And now we go back to this operative word here, cause. This cause here is causeless. As I explained previously to you, that basically in the dream state, there's a causal relationship between the ego's cause of fear and separation and its quote unquote effects, right? Then you have in reality and in truth, the true cause, right? Which is the first cause, God, okay? And we are its effect in reality and has nothing whatsoever to do with this dream body called Kevin Rice. It has nothing to do with Kevin Rice's self-concepts. It has nothing whatsoever to do with Kevin Rice's self-image. Okay. It has everything to do with a recognition that I have done this thing. I have dropped a pebble of separation into the pool of awareness. And now, boy, I'm experiencing the ripples of it. I have done this thing. No, it is my neighbor who is a pickle. No, it isn't. It's me. I'll give you an example. I don't know if Reverend Ewell is here or not, but he just got back from Sarasota, so I don't know. But Reverend Ewell and I this morning had a lesson yesterday called Love Holds No Grievances, lesson 68. And I practiced that lesson with the Reverend, and I was feeling fine. And then I went outside and I saw a blue heron. Aaron, put the chat that I'm using the proper name of this bird on the chat. Oh, it's right. He says I'm right. Good. I see to my neighbor, right, who for some reason just cannot stand me. Can you imagine anybody not liking Kevin Rice? Well, there's one. So I only had 2 instances with her in the last 15 months. The first one was I was going through the breezeway and she just says, "Oh, you're here." And I was like, what? What are you talking about? And then she just ranted about something. And I had no idea what she was referring to and would not even speak to me. And I didn't even know her, by the way. I only saw her as a neighbor. And then yesterday, again, after doing the lesson with Reverend Ewell, right? Love holds no grievances. I went out and I was watching this blue heron, which is kind of a weird creature, frankly. And right next to me is this woman, right? And since the first instance, I thought maybe she was offended or something, because I always did not go through the breezeway. I always went around the building to go to my car through the pandemic, and so did my spouse. Okay, what I call the golden rule, you know. And so I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't see anybody because I went the back way. And I thought, well, maybe she is offended that I, you know, didn't see her, you know. So I was sitting there, and I know my friend in Washington is wearing her bracelet. So many of you are. So I looked at yes, you are. And I said, okay, what would love do now with this lady? And I paused. And then I thought, okay, I'm not here to change her. You know, you're trying to have some to mend the schism that she has or whatever, because I didn't understand where she was coming from. So she was right next to me. And I said, may I say something to you? So she was silent. And I said, listen, I said, you know, my husband had a call to health and he was very safe. And so am I through the last pandemic. So if you think that I was avoiding you in any way, shape, or form, that's not true. And she just went ballistic with me. And it has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do that you were just she said, it's you ignoring me in the breezeway. And I was on the dirt. And I said, I have no memory of this whatsoever. And I certainly apologize if I offended you. I don't care. I don't want to see you ever in my life ever. And I said, okay. I mean, it was so alarming because she just basically just railed against me, right? I come inside and I tell this to Aaron, my spouse, and I said, Aaron, today's lesson is love holds no grievances. And it feels like I'm having a grievance right now. And he goes, yeah, it does look like you are having a grievance here. And I said, yeah. I said, I have no idea what just happened there. So I said, okay. And I didn't judge it. I didn't feel guilty. At the beginning, I did. I thought, did I do something incorrect, or did I harm her in any way? And the answer was no. And I still don't know what happened there. So I just, whatever. It's just a gnat shouting in empty space, as the egoic rants are. Okay. But I had a default. Love holds no grievances here. And secondly, my initial reaction was not against her. My interpretation was my interpretation of her. And that's it. And this is why this section is so important here. Happiness is an inside job and has nothing whatsoever to do with the figures within the dream state or the interaction within the dream body between Kevin Rice and the dream body called my neighbor. That's not the issue. The issue is that collectively in the mind, a fragment of the mind defiled the altar. You say, Kevin, what does Rev Kev say about defiling the altar? Well, it means that collectively I have participated in dropping a pebble of what? Division, separation, fear, attack, guilt, shame, and so forth into my dream state. And I'm experiencing the symbols and the signs of that error. That's it. That's it. For you would not react at all to figures in a dream you knew that you were dreaming. Okay, let's go back to the sleeping dream state against the living dream state, which we're in right now. So let's suppose I had a dream with my friend Dave in Miami. Okay, I didn't dream anything last night, or I was unaware of it. But Dave and I are having dinner in Coconut Grove in Miami, and I get so upset with Dave, which I haven't been that much. He's been a dear friend, but let's say I got upset with him. And he was offended, right? This is a sleeping dream state. So if I become a lucid dreamer in the sleeping dream state, would you not react to figures in a dream you knew that you were dreaming? In other words, if Kevin Rice in a dream state, his body image, had a reaction, how would you respond if Kevin Rice knew that he was dreaming this dream of discord? Well, he would not participate. He would understand that his function, his purpose in this world is to extend and express the good, the sacred, and the beautiful to his dear friend Dave. Okay? The same, my friend, is true in this living dream state. When you understand that you are the dreamer of the dream, this is what happened yesterday after this interaction with my neighbor. Because this is the section I was reading and the section before that. Hey, Kev, your mind, your split mind is merely dreaming a dream of separate bodies, separate attacks. And at the beginning here, I'll get to that in just a moment. So let me just go further here. Oh, yes. Let them be as hateful and as vicious as they may be. Example, my neighbor, right? Let Kevin Rice have his moments of upset from time to time, or being experiencing tension, for instance, right? They could have no effect on you unless you fail to recognize it is your dream. The single lesson learned will set you free from suffering, whatever form it takes. Okay. The Holy Spirit will repeat this one inclusive lesson of deliverance until it has been learned, regardless of the form of suffering that brings you pain. When I read that this morning, it reminded me of one lesson. All things are lessons God would have us learn. All things are lessons God would have me learn. Okay. So there are no accidents here. Okay. Every event, every serial adventure that you experience in dream states continually is not an accident. Okay. Everybody that you bump up against in the dream state is there for a reason. They are with one of two people, one or other characters in the dream state. They are a symbol of innocence or they are a symbol of guilt. That's it. That's it. I had dinner with a friend a couple of days ago in Fort Lauderdale. And you know, I love Fort Lauderdale, I love Miami, I love West Palm Beach. But we were sitting there and we were in a Greek restaurant. So all these guys were from Greece. They looked like they were from Greece, right? And they were eye popping to my friends. And I said, listen, I said, I know these distractions are always there. But I said, you know what I say when I see a figure within the dream state that is more beautiful or, you know, more appealing than another dream state? I always tell myself, hey, that is an image I have made. I want you to get this with me. This is the default. Okay. This is an image I have made. You guys are looking at me right now. This self-image, Kevin Rice, is an image my mind has created. Okay. I see all of these images here. These are images I have made. And so therefore, the temptation to possess these things or to objectify or materialize or externalize all of those body images is impossible to me. And it's off-putting too. Okay? Because I'm either seeing innocence and holiness or guilt solidified in a self-image called Kevin Rice. Put your head around that one. This is why the Holy Spirit repeats this one inclusive lesson of deliverance until it has been learned. Okay. And it goes on by saying, whatever hurt you bring to him, he will make answer with this simple truth. For this one answer takes away the cause of every form of sorrow and of pain. The form affects his answer not at all, but he would teach you but the single cause of all of them, no matter what their form. And you will understand that miracles reflect the simple statement, and this is salvation's keynote here. I have done this thing, and it is this that I would undo. Right? Let's go back to my neighbor. Right? It's not about her. It's not about Kevin Rice. It is about a split mind, half of which is projecting its own self-images and signs and symbols externally. And so I'm not looking for Kevin Rice for strength or power or direction or making him the decision maker. Set him aside, as I did yesterday, by the way. And I was on the couch and I said, Holy Spirit, I give this relationship with my neighbor, which I do not understand, to you. Okay. And then I had another decision yesterday to make, and I didn't know what to do. And I said, Holy Spirit, I turn this to you. You're in charge by my request. Decide for me. Okay. And the burden is off the table. I'm no longer carrying warily a sense of guilt in this world. I am immediately free when I recognize I have done this thing and it is this that I will undo. I am the dreamer of the dream that I'm experiencing. Therefore, I am not a victim of the world that I see. You say, Kevin, there are moments where I get afraid. There are moments where I get terrified. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and the sweat on my brow is just dripping down. Everybody experiences this. But we can choose again, right? As I said previously, the strength and the power and the direction in my decisions do not come from Kevin Rice. They come from my source. They come from the Holy Spirit, the translator, who takes my dream of fear into a dream of love. And so, therefore, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. I'm not powerless. And as I said previously, I'm not a victim of the world that I see. Where it says the form affects his answer, not at all. In other words, the Holy Spirit is not in any way affected by the various types of forms or figures within the dream state. Because if the Holy Spirit was affected by that, the Holy Spirit is equally entrenched, believing that he is part of the dream. But you're not part of the dream. You are the light of the world. This is why you are here. This is your function. Okay. This is your purpose. That's it. And you will understand that miracles reflect the simple statement, I have done this thing, and it is this that I will undo. It reminds me of miracle principle number 1 in chapter 1. Okay. The first principle of miracles is that there is no order of difficulty among them. In other words, I'm not looking at the level of form and saying one is bigger and the other one is smaller, one is harder, one is easier. No, they are all the same, because all I'm looking at is a reflection of my own inward wish. That's it. So if my wish is love and light and peace, then my external experiences will reflect that. If my internal wish is death, then that is what we will experience in time and space. Okay? All right. Make sure I've got everything here. Okay, that's been 2 paragraphs here. So I'm sure somebody has a commentary or a question. I'm opening the floor for your questions or your commentary. So the attendee says, the woman who disliked you and her interpretation of you, how do you approach it? First of all, as I said to a student this week, that there are no things as private thoughts, right? So there's no private thought in in my neighbor. There's no private thought in Kevin Rice's brain. All right. There's only the thoughts of God, which is true, or the thoughts being founded by the voice of fear in the past and the future, and therefore has no cause, no being, no consequence. In other words, if so, I'm not here. I really looked at this very carefully, my friend. How can I change her mind? I can't. And secondly, there's no otherness there. Okay, again, let's go back to the dream state. There's no otherness here. There's just part in my dream state that popped up and says, hey, you're a jerk, period. Okay. Now, to neutralize that, I've had to ask myself repeatedly, hey, Kevin, have you been a jerk in your life? Have you entertained a thought of being a jerk? The answer is yes. Have I been off-putting to some people? Yes. Have I blown up at a person from time to time? Not a lot of times, but from time to time throughout my lifetime. And the answer is yes. So what I see is nothing more than a mirror that I have reflected. And so therefore, the only person that needs to change is my mind about my neighbor, and not seeing her as a solidified form of guilt or sin or craziness, but asking the Holy Spirit to say, Holy Spirit, help me to see my neighbor through the eyes of the Christ. Help me to see through the eyes of holiness, right? Because this whole section is the recognition that I have done this thing, and it is this that I will undo. In other words, what have I done, Kevin? I have put a gap between me and my neighbor, and therefore I will replicate the sense of separation over and over and over until I recognize that she, and I said this explicitly afterwards. I don't even know her name, okay? But I said in the patio immediately afterwards, I was alone, and I said, because I will to know myself, I see my neighbor as God's daughter and my sister. That was my response. Because the physical eyes do not see. Okay. Only vision sees, the spiritual eye. And so, yes, the physical eyes can arrest itself. The brain can arrest itself, or rather, the mind can arrest itself and stop at appearances. But it's our purpose and function is to go beyond the bodies to the holiness beyond it. Does that help you? The attendee says it absolutely helps. Thank you. So another attendee says, I have a lot of tools, but sometimes the tension never goes away immediately. It reminded me immediately of what not Ken Wapnick, but rather Bill Thetford, who worked with the scribe, Helen Schuckman, right, typing all of this up. And someone asked him, how do you know if you're a good student of A Course in Miracles? And his answer was this: how long does it take you to let go of a grudge? Okay. Mm-hmm. How long does it take you to let go of a grudge? So to be frank with you, my dear friend, is yesterday, to be with great honesty, it took about 3 hours to shake that away. Okay. Mm-hmm. 32 years ago, it would take me months or even years holding that grudge. But as you progress through the curriculum of A Course in Miracles, I will tell you this, that your opportunity to change your mind becomes way more quicker, okay, and shorter of time. And personally, what I do, and what I did yesterday, I said, Kevin, I talked to myself in third person. Okay. Hey, Kevin Rice, you're having a mind that is full of judgment here. So we want to allow that judgment to flow through you. How do you do that, Kevin? Feel it, experience it, not the judgment. In other words, I am suspending judgment entirely, but you know as well as I do that you have feelings, you have emotions. And so what do I do? And I, by the way, explain this in my book, I think chapter 5, The Game of Love. And by the way, on my website, it's still 1 cent. And I've shipped a lot of books out, and my husband hasn't changed that back. So if you don't have my book, then it's still there, 1 cent. So I explained in my book, and the course actually experiences this as well, is I have to allow this feeling of angst, this tension, to pass through me, and it won't pass through me until and unless I keep judging it and evaluating it and so forth. So today I will judge nothing that occurs, right? I will be honest with myself today, right? And this is the one that I always use. Today I will judge nothing that occurs. This is important because when I do this, today I will judge nothing that occurs. There's a complete suspension of judgment. So those feelings of angst begins to pass away more quickly. Because if all I'm doing is poking the bear all the time, the bear is going to get bigger. Okay. As the Chinese proverb would say about cooking fish, do not poke the fish too much. You're going to ruin it. Right. I will be honest with myself today, Kevin. I will not think that I already know what must remain beyond my present grasp. I will not think I understand the whole from bits of my perception, which are all that I can see. Today, I recognize that this is so. And so I am relieved of judgments that I cannot make. Thus do I free myself and what I look upon to be in peace as God created me. So in other words, let's go back to my neighbor here. What Kevin Rice was reacting to was what? Bits of perception, right? Which are all that he can see. He's reacting to his physical eyes. He's not reacting to her reality. And he definitely doesn't understand her upbringing or why she behaves in this way. I'm not saying that we should not judge. I'm saying that we are incapable of judgment. That's it. So to answer your question is stop thinking and end your problems, as the Tao Te Ching says. Stop thinking and end your problems by saying, look, Kevin Rice is, and the best way to do this, and I do this in my counseling sessions with other people, and sometimes we go into third person, right? And it's important that I go into third person because I set aside Kevin Rice for a moment. Kevin Rice, if I'm sitting with a counselor or therapist, right? And he says to me, okay, Kevin, go into the third person. I said, okay, talk about me about yesterday in the third person. Okay. Well, Kevin Rice yesterday felt a level of anxiety, guilt with a woman, a neighbor, and Kevin Rice felt like the stuff on the bottom of a garbage can, and Kevin Rice thought he did something wrong. But when Kevin Rice thought about it, I don't think Kevin Rice did did anything harmful or wrong. His intentions were loving and kind and respectful. So Kevin Rice took about 2 or 3 hours to ruminate about this. And Kevin Rice found that he did not want this experience to run or hook him ever again. Okay. Over and next, Kevin Rice says. Over and next. So, to further your question, then, or your statement, this helps when you put yourself in the third person. Okay, it removes the bias that you brought to that experience. You see this? So that's another tool in your toolbox that you can use as you begin to try to right side up or make the mind right side up instead of upside down. Okay. Thank you. Okay. We got about 7 minutes here, folks. This is so important. Paragraph 3. Bring then all forms of suffering to him who knows that everyone is like the rest. He sees no differences. Again, miracle principle number 1. He sees no differences where none exist, and he will teach you how each one is caused. Okay, let me unpack that one here. He sees no differences where none exist. There we go. Back to the, I'll use my neighbor again. Okay. Yesterday, knowing that I'm in a living dream state, I bump up against my neighbor who doesn't like me. So Kevin Rice saw that there was something, but my reality and the awareness I have with the assistance of the Holy Spirit is take that, what you think is something, and make it nothing, because it doesn't exist. It only exists in your dream state. It only exists in your imagination, in your fantasies, and so forth. So what is my response? What is Kevin Rice's response to his neighbor and the interaction there? Help me to see the nothingness of this Holy Spirit. You see?
Okay.
Because I really want to convey to everyone, when I understand the nothingness of the things that I think is something, a miracle occurs. Healing occurs. When you read lesson 132, I loose the world from all I thought it was, right? For I am real and the world is not. And I would know my own reality instead. So this is how we heal. What we are healing is not the particular form, which it does happen in the dream state, but what you're really healing is the sense and the illusion of separation, the sense of otherness, my otherness neighbor, okay? When I remove that gap, healing occurs. Miracles happen. 1,000 gifts are given to you each and every day, but we're unaware of it because we are too preoccupied by the intricacies of the dream state. My neighbor, who was being a little unkind with me yesterday. It reminds me of that statement from A Course in Miracles, and I love it so much because it is so flatly true. This world is insane, and do not underestimate the extent of its insanity. Okay? So it's insane because I have participated, right? This is what we're talking about today. I have done this thing. I have dropped a pebble of insanity into the pool of awareness, right? And now I see the effects of it. A bunch of people that are just insane, right? But we don't allow the mind to arrest itself there, because all I'm doing, all I am reacting to are the appearances, the figures, the shadowy figures in the dream state, and not really allowing myself to connect with my love, my light, and so forth. You know, my friend Kathy, she's here, sent me this gift. It says, love is who I am, right? Love is who I am. So that means that the interaction between Kevin Rice and my neighbor is not who I am. The person who I am is love, right? But as I said with Reverend Yule yesterday, the lesson we did together yesterday, that love holds no grievances. And yes, there was a temptation to keep that grievance against my neighbor. That is our function. I cannot see the light of the world if I hold any grievances or grudges at all in my life. All right. And this is very important here. So, folks, if you are experiencing angst, if you are experiencing distress, as I was a little bit this morning, I came here, sat over there on my couch, and sat there silently. And I said, Holy Spirit, decide for me. Decide for me. Be in charge by my request. I know that there's so many quote unquote problems and opportunities and challenges that everybody has. And you want to fix those problems. As I said to my friend, he said, I'm a good problem solver. I said, the only problem is that you have a lot of problems, right? So you recognize finally that the problem is not in the world of form. The problem is our insistence that we are separate from the dream that we just dreamt up, right? And ignoring what A Course in Miracles calls the secret. Salvation is a secret you have kept but from yourself. The universe proclaims it so. So to its witnesses, you pay no heed at all. In other words, I'm not going to heed the witnesses, the example of my neighbor, right? For they attest the thing you do not want to know. They seem to keep it secret from you. Yet you need but learn you chose, but not to listen and not to see. I'm not going to hear the voices of the world. I'm not going to see the faces of the world, the characters within the play that I'm watching, right? Because I recognize it's a production that I myself produced, wrote, directed, and acting in right now. So when we pull back and say, oh, wait a minute, I wrote a terrible script of separation and attack and guilt and shame and blame and so forth. So I can write another script, right? Drop another pebble of love and union and happiness into the pool of awareness, and then I will see that play out, right? The script being played out as a dream of love instead of a dream of fear. They seem to keep it secret from you, yet need but learn you chose but not to listen, not to see. In other words, you're not giving those your attention and your energy to the intricacies of the dream state. And finally, how differently will you perceive the world when this is recognized? I have done this thing. My one mind. I have done this thing. My one mind has dropped a pebble of whatever into the pool of awareness and the dream stuff, right? When you forgive the world of your guilt, you will be freed of it. So that's the glue that keeps that dream state together, is guilt, 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 guilt. My neighbor is full of guilt because she's been a pickle yesterday. Well, if I see guilt in her, I'm going to see guilt in me, right? Finally, This is the obvious, a secret kept from no one but yourself. And it is this that has maintained you separate from the world and kept your brother separate from you, that guilt, right? Now need you but to learn that both of you are innocent or guilty. You're either guilty, and so is the world, or you're innocent, and the world is innocent as well. And all you are reacting to is the darkened glass of the ego. A Course in Miracles says, to give and to receive are one in truth. I will receive what I am giving now. If you are inspired to support Unity on the Bay and myself, you can text UOTB to the phone number 73256 and you'll receive a link to enter your donation and then drop down to ACIM-Kevin Rice to indicate that your offering is directed to this class. Or you can give through the website, unityonthebay.org/give, and drop down to ACIM-Kevin Rice under Select Fund. Your donation goes to support Unity on the Bay and the time and value we put into providing these teachings. I invite you to also visit onlylovingthoughts.com for all our A Course in Miracles videos and much, much more. Thank you, and thanks for sharing this A Course in Miracles Zoom class with other people.